Stagnation, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Stack Bitcoin News. I'm your boy Brazen.
And your boy Double O.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin halving. We are halfway there, okay? African Continental Free Trade Agreement and Bitcoin. We're going to be taking a little bit of a dive into that. And of course, we'll be finishing up with the IMF. The IMF is worried, okay? I feel like they're always worried. But with no further ado, man, let's jump right into this situation here. So, the Bitcoin halving. This is where we're going to be starting. You see, here's the deal. A Bitcoin is created when a block is mined. This is how you get new Bitcoin. Miners are incentivized to run nodes that mine and validate Bitcoin transactions. All right. And this is what you call the Bitcoin subsidy. Now, when the Bitcoin code was written, right? So this was the beginning of times. It's like the Bible, you know? Bitcoin code was written to have this halving schedules. After a halving, the Bitcoin miner gets a reward. And the rewards are continuously reduced until all the blocks are eventually mined. Now, like I mentioned before, we are halfway to this next halving event, right? And it is worth pointing out what happens to the price when this halving situation happens, right? Now, if we move on here, we're going to see a chart which we have from Dion Guillem with Bitcoin Magazine, right? He did an analysis of Bitcoin's value during each halving epoch, if you will. Well, let's call it halving cycle. And you can see that during the first halving there, around 2009 to 2012, we saw that Bitcoin made that move from about $0-ish to about $29. And this continues with the next cycle in 2012. Between 2012 and 2016 there, we went from a $12 low to a $1,134 high. And of course, that repeated itself from $526 to $19K. The interesting thing here is that Dion here and his other analysts who do this stuff with him have come to a conclusion that Bitcoin might be making it to 400K with the next halving, which is a very interesting situation. Obviously, you want to be a hodler during a time like this, is what I would say. Right? Exactly. Now, when is the next Bitcoin halving? Is the big question that may be on your mind. As you can see, we have the schedule here. May 3rd, 2024. Right? Personally, I would like to be holding as much Bitcoin as possible. Let's not say if, we see the evidence. When this thing runs up, your price target there is 400K. Very strong. My price target is a little bit more conservative for Bitcoin. Your thoughts on that, Double O?
Wonderful news. You couldn't have said it any better. It's the best news out there, really. We're halfway there. So as an investor, you plant your seeds so that they grow. The reality is that you can see the numbers is growing. Right. It's up to you if you want to harvest during the next halving, or just wait for the next halving and the halving after that before you harvest. But eventually, you're gonna have to harvest. But
when the halving happens, okay, there is only one place to be, and that is to be in Bitcoin. Okay,
yes,
so that's where I plan to be. Let us know in the comments down below. Where do you think Bitcoin is heading next?
Next, like you just mentioned, we're gonna be talking about Africa. You just mentioned earlier, Africa and its infrastructure and what everything else going there. We have now the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and the belief is that Bitcoin is the answer. This is coming straight out of Bitcoin Magazine. By the way, if you don't have that, if you're not following, you need to follow them. You can actually install the Carrot app and get some free Satoshis on there. But let's go ahead and talk about this news out here. Did you know that today that intra-trade in Africa is very low? Literally super low, to the point that it's only 14.4% intercontinental trade in Africa. This basically means that Africans are not trading with one another. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement gives Africa a fresh start at prosperity. It creates a new borderless, market that connects 1.3 billion people across 55 different nations with a combined gross domestic product, GDP, of $3.5 trillion. That is a lot of money, $3.4 trillion. It has the potential of increasing intra-African trade by 33%. It can also reduce the continent's trade deficit by at least 51%. It would help eliminate tariffs, develop infrastructure, bring about simplicity in customs procedures. It will potentially lift at least 30 million people out of poverty and add at least 450 billion in potential income to the region. You know, there's always this talk about, oh, IMF is going to kill poverty in Africa. Is it really going to do it? Or is it Bitcoin's answer for that? Cross-border payments. See, Bitcoin is borderless. So let's see how Bitcoin can solve this problem. Cross-border payments within Africa are very slow and costly. If you've lived in Africa before, you know about this. If you've ever sent money to Africa, you know about this as well. This is due to something we recently reported a few videos ago, where we talked about Africans' connection to its colonial powers. In Africa, you literally have to send your money across borders to the colonial banks before you can transact with your neighboring African country. 80% of African cross-border transactions originate from African banks are routed offshore. I just said that just now. And over 42 different currencies on the continent have to go through that process. Guess what amount that is? $5 billion annually. Additionally, majority of these currencies don't have value outside of their own country. So you can't take a naira across to Cameroon and say you want to spend it over there. We have the M-Pesa payments in Kenya. That is working, but again, it's limited to just that geographical area. And Bitcoin wallets can solve all of this. We also have the issue of payment settlements. I think it's one of the biggest things going on in Africa right now. The African Export-Import Bank came up with a solution called the PAPSS, a centralized payment settlement infrastructure that is supposed to allow for processing of cross-border transaction. The only issue with that is that it's centralized. That's not only the only issue. You also have to sign up and become a member to be able to get access to that. Bitcoin removes that because with Bitcoin, you don't have a centralized control and there's no banks controlling it. There's no foreign banks or colonial banks controlling that as well. So that's another solution. Although there's a solution called the PASS right now, Bitcoin provides a better solution, which also removes the inter-country political instability and currency manipulations that go on in all those different countries. Another big issue is cash. Cash. Africans love cash. If you ever lived in Africa, or if you ever spent time there, you notice that people trust their cash than they trust bank because banks have done them wrong so many times. Cash is the only means of transacting in the markets in Africa. But it's a huge drawback if you're going to be doing borderless transactions, right? Adopting Bitcoin will solve that problem because you can instantly transact money across other countries without having to worry about the value of your money or the value of your country's money. I think Bitcoin solves the cash issue as well. Also, there's the issue of banks. Another benefit of Bitcoin is that it has immediate and final settlement. Therefore, the need to route transactions via offshore colonial banks for clearing and settlement is basically out of the way. This will reduce unnecessary delays and the risk of exchange rate fluctuations and exchange misalignments between the different countries. That's another big solution right there for Bitcoin. Another big solution that Bitcoin will be solving, actually the biggest solution that Bitcoin will be solving, is the issue of energy. As you probably know, energy is one of the biggest expense of running a business. I've run a business in Nigeria before. I was there for 2 years running an airline, and one of my biggest expense was energy. And if we can fix the energy problem, I think we can fix a lot of things. So if we can drive down the cost of energy, which Bitcoin can do, kind of similar to what El Salvador is doing, then we can definitely make some progress. Let's talk about the dollars in terms of infrastructure. Africa currently has about $130 billion to $170 billion a year in financing gap in just infrastructure alone. So we need to fix that. In terms of the dollar, Bitcoin adoption will reduce Africa's exposure to its colonial powers by removing their control of their money, their power, and making it decentralized. So the local, political, economical issues will be far removed, and you can better focus on the improvement of your economies. So I think that article right there was super, super informative. I think anyone that wants to read that should definitely read that and look at how Bitcoin can make a huge impact in Africa. President, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think that that is absolutely incredible because you see, Bitcoin is providing different possibilities, absolutely changing the way we operate. So I am looking forward to seeing how this plays out at the end of the day, right? Now, on our final piece of news, the IMF, the one and only organization on earth that is concerned about everyone, they really care about everyone's well-being. It's just all it is. So the IMF is concerned. But why are they concerned? The IMF is concerned because Central African Republic recently adopted Bitcoin, right? So we have this article here from Bloomberg, which reads, the IMF Bitcoin adoption by Central African Republic is a concern. The IMF claims that this will pose some policy challenges, if you will, for the Central African Republic, but they're never really clear on what these challenges are going to be. And of course, we have the head of the IMF's African department, Abebe Amro Selassie, right, who said they need a robust payment system with the financial transparency and governance framework, right, that has to be in place adopting cryptocurrencies. He, in fact, also went on to state that Bitcoin was not a panicker for Africans' economies, for Africa's economic woes. I cannot speak today, but essentially what this gentleman is saying, or lady, I'm not sure what name that is, he's saying that Bitcoin, before we can adopt Bitcoin, we need essentially everything that Bitcoin is, as he described it there, right? Before you can adopt Bitcoin. So I'm confused because this person is pushing back on the same thing that they're asking for. You cannot say that Bitcoin is not a solution to Africa's problems, right? When everything else that is currently in place is failing miserably, I will add, right? Here's the fact of the matter. Bitcoin provides new possibilities globally, as I mentioned before. And the most beautiful part about it for me is that you don't need anyone's permission to participate in this new financial system, right? Mm-hmm. All you need is your phone and you're good to go. Look, a lot of these countries, right, especially like Central African Republic right now, which the IMF is concerned about, ranks at the bottom of the Human Development Index, right? And of course, this is according to the United Nations Development Index. So they're the ones, the same people who have access to all this information are the ones giving us the info.
We're just the one responsible for getting them out of poverty.
Right. And so we're looking at the information and we're interpreting it and we're saying that it does not make sense, right? If we look at Central African Republic, they ranked 188 out of 189 on the Human Development Index. So we would see that the IMF's concerns, I don't know if it's something that should be taken seriously. We can also see that the IMF was also concerned when El Salvador adopted Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is still legal tender in El Salvador today, and that country is still standing just fine, right? I'm not saying that we know everything that is going to happen with Bitcoin here, right? But what do you have to lose when you're already at the bottom? Is my thought process with this one. It seems to me that the only way is up. So if there is any chance that Bitcoin is that path to positive change, right, in an economy, I think it's absolutely 100% worth the shot. What do you think about that?
100% worth the shot.
Absolutely. Look,
it's the one escape that you have from your colonial powers.
It is.
That's what I say.
It is the escape from the colonial powers.
You give yourself a chance at something. You better try than not try at all.
Absolutely. Something that you're in control of, right? Because the current system, we all agree it's broken, but why are we not moving, right? The solution is here. And I think that this is a very unique time for any country, man, that has been a victim to the current predatory system, right? An opportunity, because if you have the opportunity to take on whatever, then after that, the only thing you have left is excuses. So I think this is it. Bitcoin is the move. When do you guys
Notice
think
it
of
said cryptocurrencies. They are trying to push that term cryptocurrencies. They're trying to
Yeah.
push cryptocurrencies because they get to control cryptocurrencies.
Right.
Stop thinking cryptocurrency, just think Bitcoin. Cryptocurrencies have their place, but just think Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Look, I think this is incredible. The Bitcoin adoption continues, okay? And we hope to keep bringing you the very best of the Bitcoin adoption and playing our part, right, in furthering this Bitcoin adoption. Any final thoughts before we close this one out, Double O?
It's been a great one. I think Africa has an opportunity. They need to
Absolutely.
go out there and kick some butt if they're serious about getting back their powers.
Hey, I think we got this one. This is gonna happen, right? We're gonna make this one happen. Well, until next time, Brazen out.
Double O out.